Hello and welcome to the 2020-2021 school year. This is the outside of my classroom and I wanted to show you what things look like inside. I'm Mr. Corey. This is room 213. So once a week you'll be coming in here and you'll be sitting in one of these well spaced out desks because we want to make sure that we're observing social distancing. So I've made a point of moving aside all the other desks so that we don't have any mistakes about where you can sit. There are 14 desks because that's the capacity that my room has at 50%, and that's what the state is recommending right now for meeting in person. So this is my classroom. I also wanted to tell you a little bit about the class, of course. So let me just pull this up and I'll tell you about Honors Communications 10. You can see on this slide, there's my contact information. So again, I'm Mr. Corey. I'm in room 213, and that's in the West Academic Building. That's what the W is for. My phone number is there, and my email address. Feel free to contact me at my email address with any questions that you have that I don't answer. And then what I wanted to show you is just a few pictures of me and my family so you get to know a little bit about me. This is me and my wife in a couple of the photos. We travel around the world as much as we can. We have done several trips with students and several trips without students. I'm in London on that far left at the bottom there. I'm in Northern Ireland in the middle on the bottom there, and that's Australia on the bottom right. Top right, that's Bath in England. And in the middle on the top, those are the hallways where they filmed the Harry Potter movies. It's an abbey that's in Great Britain. The next slide got another picture with my wife there, and then there's that little guy. That is my son Xander. Xander is now 9 years old, and in the picture on the top left, he's there with my wife and I in Japan. We had an opportunity to travel to Japan a few summers ago, and we are there with one of the largest Buddha statues in the world. It was quite an exciting time. I have a couple other pictures of Xander there with me and then with Master Lee there on the bottom. Xander and I do Taekwondo together at Master Moons, which is in Prairie. We're having a pretty good time doing that. We've been doing it almost 2 years now, and we are on our 8th belt level. So we're 3 steps away from black belt, and we're hoping to be able to get that done in 2021. The other thing on this slide, of course, are the most important beings, my 2 dogs. Sasha is on the bottom left. She's a Labrador mix. And Ben is on the bottom right. He is an English cream golden retriever. And they're pretty much the best things in the world, of course, outside of my wife and son. So that's a little bit about me. I'd like to tell you about Honors Communications 10. The purpose of this class is to continue on with what you've been learning in Honors 9 or in regular Com 9. And we're going to increase your skills as much as we can in the areas of reading, writing, and critical thinking. The class is designed around a timeline of American literature. So we'll be doing some older literature from America, and then we'll be coming up as close as we can to modern day. And another thing we'll be focused on is preparing for the MCA reading test that happens in April. So we'll be doing some practice with some actual tests that they've used in the past, and also just with our day-to-day reading activities and writing activities. They should help you with preparing for the MCA as well. Course content. This first trimester we do the beginning of our nation until about mid-1800s, so quite a big chunk of time. There wasn't a ton of writing in that chunk of time, so we go through it pretty quickly. We start with the Puritans, the first people to really settle on our shores from Europe, and we look at some of the background about the Puritans. We read a play that's called The Crucible by Arthur Miller. He wrote that in 1950, so it's not a Puritan writing, but it's about the Salem witch trials, which took place in Puritan times. And we'll also read a few things from the Puritans themselves. There's a sermon we'll read called Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God, which will help you better understand how seriously the Puritans took their religion. And we'll also look at some witch hunting instructions, which will also tell you how seriously the Puritans took their feelings about witches. With that, we will write an essay on one of the themes in The Crucible. Next, we'll move on to the Revolutionary War time. Lots and lots of essays were written during this time, and of course, speeches, people trying to explain what our country should be about. So again, we'll do some nonfiction background readings, try to understand the time period before we look at some writings from the time period. Patrick Henry delivers a speech about why we should go to war with Britain, why it's so important to do it right now. And also we read a selection from Thomas Paine. Well, he writes about the crisis, which was when Washington was facing certain defeat, and he was trying to, Thomas Paine was trying to invigorate the men to continue fighting. With this unit, we also take a look at some of the poetry from the musical Hamilton. Hamilton is very historically accurate in most regards, and we look at how Lin-Manuel Miranda put together some of his pieces and how they create meaning in terms of history and also in terms of modern day music. After that, we go on to our last unit for the trimester, which is on Gothic literature. Gothic literature comes out of the Romantic movement, which also had transcendentalism in it. We will not take time for transcendentalism this year because Gothic is much more interesting. We will look again at some background readings so you get an idea of what the Gothic writers were all about. And then we'll focus only on Edgar Allan Poe because of time. We'll read his poem, The Raven, which is one of the most popular works in all of American literature. And then we will do a short story unit where we break into groups, and each group has a different Edgar Allan Poe short story. And this becomes our final for the trimester. So that's the class in a nutshell. We have some grammar that we do as well and some vocabulary, but mostly we try to focus on reading and continuing on with your essay writing skills. A change this year is going to be that all of your classwork will be completed either on your Chromebook or on some other device which can link you to Schoology. So all of your classwork will be found on Schoology. I will not be giving out handouts in the classroom. This is because I want to encourage safe practices as much as possible during the time of the coronavirus, and we don't want to take any chances of the virus being transmitted through paper. So the fewer papers we handle and pass around, the better. So we'll be using Schoology just as we did in the spring. All of your assignments will be on there. I'll have an agenda on there every week, and you will also turn in your assignments through Schoology. Another change this year is that the grade book will be on Schoology. So Infinite Campus is only going to be used to submit grades at the end of the trimester and at the grade interval points at 4 and 8 weeks. The rest of the time, everything will be on Schoology in the gradebook, so you'll be able to see your grade there and know what you've turned in or what is missing. Then I wanted to say just a little bit about late work and grading. Late work will be accepted up until a grading period ends. So the first 4 weeks, if you have anything missing, you're going to want to get that in before the 4-week grade report goes home. And then in the next 4 weeks, if you have anything missing, you'll want to get that in before the 8th week grade reports go home. And of course, in the last bunch of weeks, you'll need to have everything in before finals week. So I will take late work. It will be for a reduced amount of points, but I do encourage you to do everything and turn everything in. The grading scale is a traditional grading scale, as you can see there on the screen by the percentages. And then lastly, the most important thing, safety during COVID-19. Everybody who's in our building is required to wear a face mask. So I will be wearing face masks every day, and you will be doing the same. All teachers, all administrators, all of our custodians, and everyone else who works in the building will be wearing face masks. Any visitors to the building are required to wear face masks. So please make sure that make sure you have enough face masks. You're only supposed to wear the masks once, whether they are disposable or if they are reusable. The reusable ones need to be laundered after they've been worn once. Additionally, as you saw with my desks, we require social distancing of about 6 feet or more if you can, because you want to keep yourself safe. This disease can be kind of ugly. And I showed you where the hand sanitizer was, sort of, on the way into my classroom. It'll be right on the left side on the table right when you come in. So when you come into the room, you want to sanitize your hands on the way in. When you leave the room, you want to sanitize on the way out. Another thing that we've done in order to help reduce your exposure is to have block scheduling. This means that instead of changing classes 6 times during the day, you'll only be changing classes 3 or 4? I didn't do the math before I talked to you. It's 3 or 4 times, which means that you'll be meeting up with fewer people and you'll have less chance of running into someone who has the virus or who might spread the virus to you. That is about the gist of my presentation. If you do have any questions, remember that I am available at these numbers here. Feel free to contact me with questions that you have, and I look forward to meeting you on our first day together.